You're listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. We'll talk about what we see at stores and what the future may hold for our industry.
Food service is the biggest category in the convenience store industry. It's 26% of sales, it's 36% of profits, and it's growing. And one of the reasons it's growing is because everybody in the industry keeps on upping the ante on food service and evolving into something even bigger. That's going to be what we're going to talk about today with a regional distributor and a very well-known chef that is implementing their vision. So joining us today, we have Michael Ray. He is president of Team Modern, and they are in the midst of their annual trade show. As part of this trade show, they're doing demos, and they're working with chef Andrew Zimmern, who is a extremely well-known celebrity chef. I won't go into the bio because the program will be over by the time I finish all his accolades. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. And I want to start with you, Michael. Take us through the strategic plan in how you decided to elevate your food service offer and how it involved Andrew Zimmern.
Sure. So, a trade show for us is an annual event, and it's our Super Bowl. We say that every year. We get more customer interactions at this event than we do any other time of the year. So it's incredibly important to us. And every year we're trying to figure out how to, make our food service presence a little more impactful to our customers. And in your position, you understand this. Our customers are some second, third generation convenience store and petroleum, distributors, and they've made their careers on gasoline, caffeine, and nicotine. And so, that evolution of turning, that institutional memory is kind of hard to break. And so making that evolution to a food service centered offering is something that we've tried to help with. And we're not preaching because we got to do it ourselves. We were trying to evolve ourselves into a food service friendly company. And so as we had our strategic planning, the end of 23, we said, what can we do at our trade show that would be unique and different and really try to elevate the experience of our food service customers that we service. And so our marketing team put their heads together, and elevate is the theme of our trade show. And Chef Zimmern is part of that experience for our customers. How many times are our customers going to be able to enjoy watching a demonstration from an acclaimed chef like Chef Zimmern? And so that's part of obviously promotion for us, but also the idea of, hey, we've started this trend toward food service, but now how can we really elevate the experience, make sure that our customers are expecting more, right? The consumer is expecting more than just routine convenience food, and how can we help them along that journey?
So, of course, in the early 80s, National Lampoon's Vacation, Chevy Chase's character, Clark Griswold, had that line, "I'm so hungry, I could eat that sandwich from the gas station." And over the last 40 or so years, Team Modern, others in the industry have helped change that perception, where we're now seen as a destination for food service. Now, want to ask a follow-up question, Michael, but what was the process in coming up with that food service first elevation? And I probably also should ask you to basically give a quick overview of Team Modern, regional distributor, types of stores that you serve.
Sure. So I maybe should have started there, but Team Modern is a family company in South Central Kentucky. And, we have a history that's similar to a lot of our customers. We were a tobacco and candy jobber that has evolved into more of a full line convenience and food service distributor, with also some ancillary, signs and graphics and equipment businesses to help serve that industry. And, we service independent and small chain convenience stores in the Kentucky and Tennessee market. And that's what we do. And we try to do it well. And because we're servicing, smaller and independent stores, they may not necessarily have the marketing or the food service budget or the food service director in-house to make some of these necessary changes to elevate their offering. We want to be that resource if we can be. And so, how did this idea come along would probably be more a question for our marketing team. But they, when we said, hey, we're willing to do something unique if you can bring us an idea that you think can elevate the experience of our customers. And this is what they came with. And when we heard that we had the opportunity to have somebody of Chef Zimmern's caliber to show our customers what was possible, that we were excited about that opportunity.
So, Chef, perfect perfect lead into you. When you heard about this opportunity, did you think challenges, opportunity? What went through your mind in thinking, how do you look at this in something way different than a traditional kitchen that you might be more accustomed to?
Well, I actually spend more time in stores like this, arguably, than I do in traditional kitchens. It would surprise people, but I think, I'm a dad first and foremost. I'm a traveler. I would put my, 4-wheel miles up against anyone else. I would put my plane miles up against anyone else's. And while people think that I'm always traveling on a plane, I actually take a plane somewhere and then I spend 2 weeks in a van going around a small country in Europe or Asia or South America or a big country or a region. But most often it's shooting here in the United States. And so we are, little pirate ships of TV crews. And, when I'm in the Southeast, I love stopping at the convenience stores because they started putting fried chicken livers next to the, fried chicken about 10 years ago because their customers wanted it. The best boudin and the best cracklins is not found in a restaurant in Louisiana. It's found in central Louisiana in what we used to refer to as gas stations. But now they offer so much more. And as you so wisely put it at the top, it's responsible for such a large amount of volume, but also a huge profit center for them. So there are literally gas stations that I order boudin and cracklings from 2 or 3 times a year in Louisiana because they make the best stuff. When my son was in school in Idaho and Utah, and I would go out there and visit him, we drive around. And I was out on the show floor and I saw the people who put the fried chicken in the case that I think is a great fried chicken product. I would proudly serve it in a restaurant, right? So what is the balance that with what I'm looking for, or when I walk into a store and say, boy, I wish they had blank, right? And I think the trend has been, how can we take the most popular items from our food culture, stuff that we know consumers love, and make it a value add to what we're already doing? Burgers, fried chicken, burritos, pizza, right? So I'll give you a great example with pizzas. You started to see breakfast pizzas show up, 14, 15 years ago. Really smart idea, right? Then you started to see people who were putting extra things on breakfast pizzas because they were getting these frozen decks, right? And they would scatter some mushrooms or vegetables in season and put it in there. And they put a little, I mean, this is an actual thing I saw, a little pink 3x5 card that said special pizza, homegrown, I forget what it was, mushrooms or whatever. And it was, they couldn't keep enough in that little carousel that was going around. And I was amazed at that. Then you start to look at what science and technology has been able to do. Pizza used to die in those little carousels. Mm-hmm. I just was talking to a pizza vendor here, and I said, wow, your actual build looks so great, right? Because science has allowed for that pizza dough to stay risen and to stay fresh for longer, so they're not throwing pieces away into the garbage. As the United Nations World Food Program's global ambassador for food waste, one of my many jobs, food waste is a really important thing for me. So I don't like food to go to waste. But I am first and foremost a consumer. And, when I'm in the Southwest in season, I don't want a plain hamburger. I want one with hatch chilies on it. So as we've all been talking about here, how does somebody who has, 2 burners and a griddle and a different person standing there every day make simplistic changes to their menu that engages customers in a more personal way? And you want to know something? It's the smaller groups and it's the smaller customers, smaller size, mid and small, that are more nimble, right? It's more difficult. These giant national chains are like, it's like turning the Queen Mary around in the Hudson River. It's a huge operation. So I actually jumped at the chance. I said yes faster to this than anything. Number one, I love people. Number two, I want to find out what they're eating and what they're liking. But most importantly, I think I can actually help jumpstart the creative process for them. I just did 3 chicken tender sandwich demos. I don't care if any of those vendors put them in their stores. What I care about is that they upgrade their chicken sandwich offerings for their customers. It just starts the creative process going. And I'm really, and I mean this is not, I'm not blowing smoke where I shouldn't, knowing that what I'm doing here today actually might make a difference, right, for Team Modern, and that's going to filter down and make a difference to some of these multi-generational families. Sure. They're working, 24/7, 365, trying to thrive in neighborhoods that are oftentimes cut off by big highways. They have all kinds of challenges running small generational businesses. That's who I want to help. A big Fortune 500 company doesn't need my help. Well, check that. Of course they do. But it still cashes. But it's, but it really is true. It's more immediate. My television experience has shown me that when I discover a little hole in the wall restaurant and we put them on television, and a year later I get a phone call from a woman crying on the phone, and I'm like, who's this? And they're like, it's so-and-so from that restaurant. We quadrupled our sales once the show aired. And, my grandparents, are jumping up with, you can make a change there. If I go into a fancy pants restaurant with a 1-year waiting list for reservations, am I really going to help them? I don't think so. So it's very fulfilling for me as a culinarian to be able to put these simple ideas out in front of people, knowing that they can use them or the creative process, and it's going to make a difference in their lives and, more importantly, in their business, which means in their communities.
So I could just do follow-up questions on everything you just said. I'll just say the one thing. I absolutely agree with you on Louisiana. We went to a bunch of stores around the Arcadia area, and kind of the rule of thumb is the worse it looked on the outside, the better the food was on the inside. And these were small towns too, like 700. It was amazing how good the food was.
You have to remember that those were the first places where someone, because they were selling gasoline, nicotine, and caffeine, could afford to put in a 4-burner stove and a couple of deep fryers, right? Mm-hmm. And in Louisiana, especially that part of Louisiana, the rules, not a lot of health inspectors running around. And it's usually someone who's a friend of the family. So historically, these are the places that were able to start cooking their own things. But it's in every single region in the country, you can find stuff like that going on. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me if you get off the main road and away from some of these big, super clean superstores, the regional foods that you're able to taste in these convenience stores that are the equal or better than anything that you'll find anywhere else. I would also tell people who have, read my stuff, watch my shows, we've done whole episodes inside of Japanese convenience stores, gas stations, on the road. The average Japanese seller of gasoline, nicotine, and caffeine, their food offering is better than the average American Japanese restaurant in America. It is delicious because they take it so seriously. It's a part of their culture. And I'd love to see that same thing transpire here. I'd love to see those stores be competitive. And the one thing that I would like to add is that, and do so at a price that everyone can afford. I know increasingly, one of the great disappointments in life for me as I grow older is I see people become increasingly time poor and cash poor. And that combination is really gripping. So if you can get something fresh and yummy, and then next step would be good for you at a store, in your neighborhood, by all means, let's do that, shall we?
Yeah. And the whole concept is give people choice. And one of the things in marketing, one of the phrases that really resonates is the hardest thing to change is someone's behavior. They will tend to behave the same way. They will tend to buy the same thing until something gets in their way and makes them do something else. And it could be a value. It could be all kinds of different things. But stair steps, little tiny changes, I think can affect the American palate in a much greater way than saying, okay, now it's cordon bleu. We're going to that. You're going to need a fork while you're driving. And instead, taking chicken tenders, taking some of these other loved items and just elevating them, saying, hey, you might want to try this today, might want to stay with what you have. But I think that's really how we can affect change in this country. I know that when we've gone to some stores and they talk about their elevated food offer, and they say, look, we have construction workers, we have stuffed grape leaves, all these awesome things. They may try that once or twice. They may buy all in. But if we give them choice and show them that everything is elevated, they're more likely to come back and then start sampling things. And for both of you, whoever wants to go first, maybe Michael, you have to do all this. When you're a retailer, you have to do it in a space that's roughly the size of, just pick out a fast food QSR, a Subway kind of counter, where you can do all this in a very small window of room and have to do it fast. So when you're on the trade show floor today talking to your customers, what's been the feedback in saying, yes, I can do this in this area, or I've never thought of it? And again, Michael, let's start with you.
Yeah, and I think, as I said earlier, Jeff, this is an evolution for our company as much as it is for our customers, right? In that we've got to be evolving to where we're providing the right products and the right expertise and the right equipment that is available, that if they need that consulting help. And again, we're talking about stores that may not have the budget to have somebody that is only over, kitchen equipment. They're dealing with 100 other things. How can we be that resource to provide the right expertise, products, and equipment that they can do that in a small box? And look, I just watched Chef throw together, 3 great dishes. We put him in a box the size of a phone booth. It can be done. But it requires a certain amount of expertise and product. And how can we help that along? And then I think the great point that you made and that Andrew also reiterated was, we don't necessarily expect our customers to be able to recreate all of these recipes that he's doing, right? But if it makes them think about how they can elevate what they're already doing, create a little better experience for their customers. I mean, our mission statement at Team Modern is, how do we create a better experience? If we can help our customer create a little better experience for their consumer, we don't think that customer is going anywhere selfishly for Modern. And also we think that we're really helping the communities we service.
And anything you want to add, Chef?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, this is, I could spend hours talking about this subject. It absolutely fascinates me. But, if you just look outside of the 5 square feet around you, there's a whole world of flavor. I was just at a very, arguably America's most fancy food festival, the South Beach Wine and Food Festival, where I've been a headliner for 25 years. And I host the closing party, and they always like me to have a food booth there. We have like 30 vendors selling food. It's like 5,000 people. It's a big, big, big closing event on the beach in South Beach, Florida. And I like to bring things from some of my restaurants and food service stores that I own. And we did an Argentinian sausage. And the quintessential Argentine street food is something called choripan, which is a Argentine chorizo. It's got a lot of chunk meat in it. It's not all ground. They grill them and serve them with peppers and onions and, a piece of melted cheese on it. And they put it in stale bread that they've heated over the coals, right? So we did our version of it. So we steamed them because, we had to serve thousands within a 3-hour window. So we steamed and split them, put them on the charcoal grill, put them inside a day-old bun, right? Put food service. We had hot red relish and we had sweet red relish. We mixed them 50-50, store-bought in gallon containers. We did not make it from scratch. Put that on the hot sausage, sprinkled some parsley on it, and took provolone cheese and put it in there as well. But by the time the sandwich got to people, the provolone cheese, sharp and salty, the sweet relish, the hot relish, a little bit of herb from the parsley, and which you can buy chopped, by the way, from a food service establishment. And this sausage and bread was, the hit of the thing. Now, everybody thinks, by the way, I made none of it from scratch. I just combined elements and offered people something new but that was familiar at the same time. Who doesn't love a grilled sausage sandwich? I think everyone does. So if you can differentiate yourself, right? If you own, a store by the side of the road and you get a local reputation, even a hyper local, oh my God, that place is great. But that grilled Argentine chorizo, they may not even be able to name what it is, but that grilled sausage thing is the best sandwich for 50 miles. That's what I would like to get people to here. And I think that's the same thinking that Team Modern has. And when you are eating that kind of sausage and someone says, my God, what is this? And they say, oh, it's typical Argentine street food. That's a 6-word story, but a story is an experience. Yes. And that is what drives this whole thing and why I said yes to this right away and why I'm so thrilled to be here.
So we could have episode 2, 3, 4, 5. There's so much more I want to dive in, but I also realize that this is going on during the trade show. There's lots of customers that you need to do more demos with. So we're super appreciative of the time that we've had today. Chef, just in summary, one of the things in working in the health food community and in talking to people about how do you elevate things, the word is nudge. And how do you nudge somebody in the right direction to change behavior? And you alluded to Hudson River, so I'll use a New York phrase, nudge. And a nudge is somebody that wags their finger and tells you, you don't do this, you need to do something else. The nudge puts you in that aspirational, try this. And it really seems that is the way that we will change and elevate what we're doing in food service. It's those little nudges.
You're not going to move someone a mile, right? I'll friendly amendment to something that you said earlier. I work with behavioral scientists at the highest level in some of the work that I do. And the number one driver of human behavioral change is the perceived status of the communicator, typically the first communicator. So, I think without necessarily thinking of it that way, when the Ray family asked me to come down here and be with them, the idea was, let's have a communicator that has a trust factor that's maybe a little more elevated, telling our customers the same things that we've been telling them for years and years. And maybe that moves the needle for them a little bit. And maybe that association with someone who thinks that way will have benefits for our company for years to come. So that's the dream. The second thing is, when it comes to changing human behavior, the number 2 driver is what is referred to as a multiple pillar approach, dual, quadruple, quintuple, parallel processing, right? So if someone's doctor is telling them, hey, Bob, mix in a salad every once in a while, but Bob loves fried chicken, what's the most popular thing on fast casual? Fried chicken salad. It's simply everywhere. It allows people to mix more fresh vegetables in. Science and technology has allowed that lettuce to stay fresher in bags more often. There's less cutting. You can buy really good salad dressings, right, from food service companies. There are so many ways one could be helped to put limited amounts of that product on. So if you're only selling 5, 6 a day, no problem. You will grow to sell more and more and more as people realize that it really is not only good for you, but tastes really great as well. And you feel better that afternoon, right? Not everything has to be pizza and fried chicken. Not everything. But, you said the stuffed grape leaves may not sell so much. I'm surprised at the convenience stores I go into, how many, what's the several companies now, one's import from Italy, one is, I know, Sargento, does those little 2 and 3 packs of salami and cheese that are in a roll. No bread whatsoever. Those fly out of there. And the reason they fly out of there is that whether it's someone's spouse, a doctor, a friend is like, hey, Bernie, slow down on the carbs, right? Super easy pick-me-up snack that's just protein, a little bit of dairy.
Booth 135, we'll get you one.
Really? See, there you go. But that is the amazing trend. Look at, if you had told someone 20 years ago, that's going to be a hot seller. It's a hot seller,
Absolutely.
Right? Huge seller. I know, because everyone in my office wants them. It's what we spend our dollars on snacks for our employees. I buy them when I'm with my dollars, when I'm in a C-store. These are the simple little changes we can make to help improve everything. And that, by the way, is healthier for you than eating fried chicken.
Well, Chef, if you ever want a NACS name badge, we will put you on staff because you're a fantastic communicator for our industry, and you're going to put me out of a job, and I would gladly have you do that. So I couldn't be more appreciative of your time today, Michael and Chef. Go dazzle them with another demo, and we're gonna elevate our industry and with food service. So thank you both for being part of that process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening to Convenience Matters.
Convenience Matters is brought to you by NACS and produced in partnership with Human Factor. For more information, visit convenience.org.